Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Globetrotter Newscast for today, the 25th of April, final one of April. Hope everyone's staying safe out there. I'm joined by all party supporters that came to round up the week's news. Hello, Zach.
Hi. Hello, Charlie. Hello.
Now, Zach, I want to start off by talking about COVID-19 because it's been a week of news for India because unfortunately across the channel, into India, there's been a huge rise in COVID-19 cases, and the government on Monday announced that from Friday of last week, anyone coming back from India would have to quarantine a hotel. And Zach, what is the situation in India at the moment regarding COVID-19?
Oh, hello, Charlie. The situation, Charlie, in India is pretty bad. Very bad. I think this is the fifth consecutive day actually, that they've reported cases over 300,000. It was only last week, Charlie, I have to be fair, that they only put India on the red list, which was, you have to say, very slow. Now, obviously, Boris Johnson was going to go out there, Charlie, but that trip got cancelled. We all sort of wondered why his trip was even still going ahead at this rate, quite frankly. But we know now he's cancelled it. He's put India on the red list. You do have to wonder in the scenario was whether that he didn't put India on the red list because he wanted to go out there for his little trip to see the Indian Prime Minister. That's obviously what happened. I don't know whether that happened or not with the situation, but it's suspicious as to why he did wait so long. But yeah, the situation in India, Charlie, is absolutely utter dire. They are losing oxygen there. They are losing oxygen. They're losing ventilation. It is horrific, Charlie. What is happening in India, really, to be fair? 300,000 cases, loads of deaths, run out of oxygen hospitals. And this is a country, to be fair, Charlie, that was managing their whole COVID situation quite well at the beginning. They did lockdowns necessary. They nearly managed to really get it down to zero COVID levels. And then I don't know what's happened, but you know, the Indian Prime Minister has decided to take a completely different approach on this second big wave and decided to keep the country open and fair. And, you know, what's happening now that he's keeping the country open? We have this Indian variant which is spreading over there. And the cases are extraordinary.
It's transmitting so rapidly, isn't it, Zach? Very rapidly.
It is unbelievable. It is transmitting so much faster, I believe, than what, you know, the United States and the UK had when they had their peaks. I mean, goodness me, we saw the United States with horrific figures in COVID, but the India's worse with this variant that they're having.
The double mutation.
The double mutation one. And honestly, it is killing people. It's spreading like wildfires. Literally, I can't understand how India did so well, did particularly well in the first wave with regard to lockdown. Now have a huge problem of not even able to lock down. Although I understand there is now local lockdowns in India, with those with positivity rates above 10%. But it took so long to introduce them that you just, you know, it's too late really. We got the case where the variant is just spreading like an utter wildfire. It's like it's burning faster than the Amazon rainforest. And you know, it's that bad, Charlie. The images we've seen are horrible.
Horrendous.
The hospitals are horrendous. Yeah, it's horrendous. Hospital situation is horrendous.
Can I just say as well, there was some news through today that Delhi's lockdown's been extended until start of May as well. And so they're under tough restrictions anyway. And I think another area in India, I think the state of Maharashtra or something, they're also under tough lockdown restrictions as well. Oh, it's just, and I saw the figures the other day of the number of cases. I think it was over 350,000 and deaths up to 2,600. I think there might be even higher today. I don't know. The figures are alarming and they are quite astonishing. And it's just a tragic spectacle. And I tell you what, in India, there is a lot of hospitals right now that are just overwhelmed and people are dying in car parks. And the situation mimics Brazil pretty much. And it's a horrendous scene. I honestly think, I mean, I don't understand that. There's a load of people still going out holding festivals and that in India. I mean, what is going on with their restrictions over there?
Can't. It's weird because, like, the Indian Premier League, which is the cricket, is still going ahead as planned. I mean, you look at the cases; it's ridiculous. Like 349,000 recorded yesterday. Deaths were 2,767. It's basically India's basically turned into a Brazil, basically, where it's just been allowed to spread, and it's spreading, fast, rapidly, and they don't. And it's weird because it's coming from the place that creates all the vaccines, and yet they can't get any vaccines from themselves. Really, quite shocking, really. It
They're
really
so
is
far
shocking,
behind
Charlie.
Zach on vaccine
And they are, and the sporting competition like the Indian Premier League is still going ahead, which is extraordinary, given the complete spread of COVID there. It is utterly extraordinary. But the things what we're seeing, Charlie, it's been diabolical. It's been awful. It's miserable. And the world is rightly focused on the spotlight on that.
Oh, ouch!
I know.
I can't
indeed.
believe it. I can't believe it. And I have to say as well, Zach, they're meant to average 10 million vaccinations a week because they've got to vaccinate the most people in the world. I think it was like 3 billion. They're only averaging 3 million vaccines a week. Like, that's not enough supply. And I've been hearing India as well. They've had issues getting the supply of vaccines in. I don't even know what vaccines they're even using. Are they using the Sputnik V vaccine from Russia? I have been hearing lots of controversy around that one.
Yeah.
And also the AstraZeneca one as well. I mean, India have got to get their vaccine supply up because they're really struggling, Zach, with that, aren't they? They
are pretty much struggling. They're struggling in the place where most of the AstraZeneca vaccine is being created. And you would have thought, they would have got vaccines for themselves, considering they can create plenty of other countries' vaccines, and yet it looks like we're the countries in the world that are having to donate vaccines because of the COVID situation there. It's a race now to get people vaccinated more, like rather than sending aid over to India. We literally need to send aid over to India for vaccines and stuff like that. COVID test is not enough. It needs to be vaccines, and they need to come thick and fast because this COVID situation there is utterly mad. It's the spread there has just been incredible, Charlie.
Oh, Zach, I can't believe how horrible it is over there, and I'm glad that the government have now acted on sticking them on the red list, as Australia have done that as well. It's clear that the situation in India is very dire, and I honestly think they should be in lockdown. If they're that bad, they should be put under a lockdown, stay-at-home orders in place, and stop this thing spreading. I mean, France have done it. Sure, India could be following in their footsteps. But let me know, guys, what you want to think down in the comments below. I'm Charlie Tolhurst, the Globetrotter Newscast, live on YouTube and Facebook. If you're out in India, please let me know what you think about how the situation of COVID-19 is there and how you feel. Because honestly, at the moment in India, things are not looking great. And I know many people that have friends and family who live out there as well. So it's very difficult indeed. But we're going to move on now from India, from COVID-19 for a bit. Because in the UK, we haven't really had much news on the pandemic over the last week. But we're going to touch on something now. We're going to go straight on to motorsports and head back to COVID later. Formula E back in Valencia. And wow, I watched some highlights of Formula E earlier, and I tell you what, not a great day at the office for Mercedes and Stoffel Van Dorn. However, a good weekend for his teammate Nick de Vries in race 1.
Yeah, well, Charlie, I watched the Formula E races live both days. I want to start with race 1, Charlie, because it was an absolute bonkers finish to the race. So let me explain the situation to you, Charlie, because I honestly, it's so bonkers. There was 5 safety cars because of the weather, and cars going off, 5 safety cars in the 45-minute race. And normally under the safety car, Charlie, you have the usable battery and usable energy. The FIA will take a certain amount of battery off of that usable energy for each lap under the safety car, because basically you're not using that energy. If you're going to, otherwise, if you end up saving that energy, you'll have too much energy towards the end. And the FIA want to be fair and everything like that, and basically remove any energy that that is going to be wasted really and is not needed. Now, because of this at the end, because they removed so much energy at the end, Charlie, and because there was the race leader got across the line with 2 basically before the time went 0. That meant there was 2 laps to go, Charlie. And my goodness, all teams apart from Mercedes completely screwed their battery consumption up completely. I think about only 12 finishers made it to line because they managed to sort that battery out. There was about a dozen others, loads of them, that basically had to slow down because they had reached 0 battery. And the team that saved the most on that day, Charlie, was Mercedes in race 1, who managed to get a 1-3 after Stoffel Van Dorn was basically disqualified from qualifying. And he finished. He was about to finish like the very low end of the grid. And oh my goodness, last lap he finished 3rd after being 17th for most of the race. It was absolutely nuts, Charlie. We couldn't figure out who was going to finish, who had battery left. It was insane, Charlie. It was literally. How could people not remember their battery consumption apart from the Mercedes team? That was incredible. Race 2 today, though, was a bit more quieter. It was Jake Dennis who won that race, who pretty much dominated the race. Alex Lean, by the way, who was obviously challenging for most of the race, got punted off halfway through it. Could have been a set easy. It could even be challenging for the win, and then got punted off. And yeah, basically gave the race to Jake Dennis, who I think it's his first victory as well, Charlie, I believe.
Yes, it is Jake Dennis's first victory. Is he drive for BMW Andretti? Just that then, Charlie.
He does drive for BMW. And this is a big first win for him. He got pole earlier today by 9/10 of a second. Quite an extraordinary lap. He must have found the right length of the track to do that, but he stayed in front for all the race, led from start to finish. Did get challenged at time by Alex Lynn, and then obviously Alex Lynn got punted off by, I think it was Antonio Felix da Costa, who was given a 5-second time penalty.
Yeah, Van Dorn had a mare of a race as well.
Van Dorn unfortunately got punted into the wall. 2 into 1 don't go at the circuit, Charlie, because they did add chicanes to the circuit, and especially at the one of the chicanes where it was he had to turn a tight right and there's a barrier next to it. 2 and 1 didn't go, and yeah, basically he got knocked out his right front, and that was basically race over for him, unfortunately.
It was Sebastian Buemi, I think, that came together with Stoffel Van Dorn, the Nissan E-Downs driver, tagging the... Yes. I think it was the right rear of the Mercedes into the chicane. And I mean, with Valencia, I tell you what, it was a great weekend for all for just to watch the racing. And I tell you, the Saturday action, the last lap, I mean, I've never seen anything like it in Formula E, where some of the teams miscalculated their energy. Several drivers got disqualified, and I mean, I think the team that done the least well over the weekend was Jaguar. I did not see many points finishes from them at all between
Jaguar
Mitch Evans and Sam Bird. But I think the driver,
Jaguar had an awful weekend, Charlie. They they had really poor performances in qualifying, which really affected them in the race overall. It just summed them up. I mean, Sam Bird was leading the championship up to this point, and he just, he screwed it up in the heartbeat with really poor performance in qualifying. Both times had a poor qualifying yesterday, had a poor qualifying today, and that summed up his weekend. He's just lacking the pace, and he's down, and that's crucial championship points. You know, that were lost for him as well. And yeah, that's really pretty much sums it up for his weekend for him. And you know, if we look at the standings now, I'm getting it up just as I load it up here. It is Nick de Vries who is now leading the standings. Stoffel Van Dorn is second. It's a Mercedes 1-2 in the standings, Charlie. Haven't we heard that one before? Sam Bird, really poor race. 0-0 for Valencia. No points out of Valencia. Got disqualified, obviously, race 1 because he ran out of energy at the end. Van Dorn is lucky to be second. He's got a DNF. He had a DNF. Did not finish because he got shunted as well. Whilst Nick de Vries, also a DNF for him. Well, not DNF. He got 0 points really. But he, despite that, none of the top 5 in the standings, Charlie, finished in the points today. Which is very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Yeah. So that actually, to be fair, didn't affect the standings that much because all the top finishers, basically the top 5 in the standings, didn't finish his points, and all of those who did finish were well behind in the championship. Anyway, so yeah, it's the top team, the top drivers are very, very, very lucky today. You know,
I was just going to say, Zach, as well earlier on. Andre Lotterer finishing second for Porsche. I was just going to say the driver that I was most impressed with at the weekend. Andre Lotterer, who's had an awful start to the season, has finished second in race 2. And I think that surely is a massive haul of points for Porsche.
Yeah, absolutely. Porsche as well. That was well needed this weekend as well. Those standings. If we just look at I'm going to get the team standings up now. Porsche. Well, yeah. You know, it's the ones that have been affected. I mean, look at this: BMW getting 29 points out of this weekend. Well, even more actually. They got a total of 33. Dragon got 18 in the first race, but none in the second race as well. But yeah, Porsche. 18 points for the weekend. The winners of this weekend in terms of points gained was definitely BMW. Got 29 rounds in between the drivers, 33 overall for the weekend. So they're up to 7th. But it's Mercedes leading the championship by 23 points at the moment. Thanks to the top 3 teams, they once again scored 0 points. The Mercedes are. Mercedes is running away with the championship. I mean, we hear that in Formula 1 a lot, but we're hearing it in Formula E quite a lot now, Charlie. It was almost like 2 to tango in that scenario. You know, you think it's F1 all over again.
Oh, Zach, I tell you what, it was amazing what we saw at the weekend. So I believe Formula E, I think is the next meeting. I'm not sure where that is. Is that Monaco?
Or
is that somewhere else?
But I think it is.
I think we definitely.
It is Monaco. It's on the 8th. It's just a single. It's just the single round. Just a single race that weekend. Charlie, it's on the 8th of May, I believe.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's just a single race. This one. So there's only going to be one opportunity. They're using the full F1 circuit as well, but with a couple of tweaks as well. Which will be good to see because I think that's what fans wanted to see as well. Full Formula E, Formula 1 circuit for Monaco being used for Formula E, which is good to see. So yeah, I'm you know, Monaco is going to be very difficult to overtake on, Charlie. No doubt about it. It's basically the street circuits. It's all street circuits, the most glamorous one of the all. But there's going to be a few modifications, as I said. So I look forward to seeing that. Monaco, being the glamorous weekend. Obviously, Monaco's hosted the historic F1 weekend as well. This weekend as well, I see. I haven't watched that, but yes, Monaco. It is in 2 weeks' time, I believe.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Monaco hosting the next Formula E race, and I have to say on the full circuit, by the way, not the short one, the Grand Prix. Formula One style circuit. So that will be Formula E, and that will be at Monaco in a couple of weeks. But we're going to move on now to NASCAR. Now, last week was the Toyota Owners 400. Actually, no, is it? Yeah. Let me see if I get my last weekend. Just say NASCAR raced at Richmond, and it was a very big weekend and another new winner. It wasn't a Toyota though that actually won the race. Believe it or not, I think it was Alex Bowman who claimed his first win of the season.
Alex Bowman, yes, Alex Bowman. If I hopefully get it right. Yes, it was. Alex Bowman won that race. Denny Hamlin, Joe Logano, Christopher Martin Truex Jr. That's top 5. Now, currently ongoing, Charlie, is the Geico 500 at the moment at Talladega. I've just seen there's been a big old wreck at the moment. I just want to see this, actually. I don't know what happened. It looks quite bad. Oh, he actually flipped over.
Oh, yeah, there was a huge crash, I believe, in one of the Xfinity races.
So Logano, no, it's this. I'm just watching. This currently happening right now, Charlie, in the Cup Series race. So at the Geico 500. So he's just flipped. Logano has just flipped his car over, but he's okay. It looked like a bit of a wild ride, but it looks like a single car wreck, actually. The roof flaps weren't as effective, but he is okay, thankfully, from what I see. Which is good news. I have to say, Charlie.
Yeah, it looks a horror crash for
Matt
Joey Logano
is currently leaving. Yeah, Matt DiBenedetto is leading the race currently at the moment, Charlie. Alongside Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, William Byron is the top 5 as well. That won lap 61.
188 laps
at the moment. Yeah.
Of that one. Winner will be announced. Yeah. We'll announce the winner tomorrow on our social media pages. That is the Geico 500. That's at Talladega. That's going to be one of the playoff races as well, just to confirm, I believe. We're going to be heading there
later in the season.
For one of the playoffs. Big wrecks at Talladega, common circuit for massive wrecks. So we'll keep you updated on that. We're going to move on now to IndyCar. Yeah. We're going to move on to IndyCar now because I think actually the race results have actually come in for IndyCar.
Yes.
This is, by the way, at the streets
race
of St. Petersburg.
Yes, I saw the race, Charlie. Lucky to say, I saw most of the race. It was Colton Herta that won the race. He started on pole as well. He started on pole as well yesterday, and he's won the race, Charlie, as well. He beat Joseph Newgarden to finish second. It's basically Colton Herta just dominated that race. There were 2 yellow flags for a couple of spins. Herta survived that. Basically, kept out in front. He just dominated the field. It was just a straight up domination. Newgarden's second, managed to clear Jack Harvey the first round of stops. The soft tyres were struggling, by the way, Charlie, in the first round. It looked anyone running the soft tyre seemed to struggle throughout the race from what I saw. And that allowed Herta to run away as well. You do a pit stop, I believe, as well, which allowed him to run away. And so there we go. So Newgarden, Colton Herta finished again. Newgarden, Pagenard third, Jack Harvey fourth, Dixon fifth, Kuma started sixth, Marcus Ericsson seventh, Will Power eighth, Rinus Van Coleman ninth, Sebastian Bourdais
ninth, Sebastian Bourdais was 10th. Scott McLaughlin doing best out of the rookies in 11th. Felix Rosenquist was 12th. Romain Grosjean, former Haas F1 driver, 13th. Ryan Hunter-Ray, I think 2014 Indy 500 champion down in 14th. Graham Rahal, 15th. Con Daly, 16th. Alex Palou, who was pole sitter out in first round, in 17th. James Hinchcliffe, 18th. And so on. Jimmy Johnson, 22nd out of the 3.
Jimmy Johnson
is
22nd after causing 2 caution flags. He basically locked up the last corner and then he also spun a few corners later at another couple of laps. Max Chilton finished last. Max Chilton has a history of finishing last in F1, and he's keeping that up in IndyCar as well, I see. So, and Carlin, yes, Carlin. So he drives forward, but
no.
yeah.
Wow. It's not good, Zach, isn't it? I
Mm.
mean, Max Chilton again with Manor Racing. Oh, back down at the last, but this time with Carlin in IndyCar. But yes, Jimmy Johnson there finishing at the towards. He's not doing bad. I mean, he's only doing the road and street. Grosjean is only doing that, and obviously McLaughlin's doing the whole season of ovals and streets.
Yeah.
So I think IndyCar. Next meeting, I'm just getting up the calendar.
It is next week.
Now.
I think it's Texas, actually, Charlie. I think it's Texas.
Yes, it
week.
is. Yeah, we're heading to. That's an oval circuit, so that's the Guineas 300
under lights. Under the lights as well. Two races, I believe. I think it's two races. Actually, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
Grosjean and Johnson won't be going now. I think Pietro Fittipaldi's coming in.
Right. I see. Yeah.
Replaced Grosjean. He's only doing ovals. There's a couple of other drivers as well. I think they're sort of Tony Kanaan, I think, might be joining as well. There's a couple of drivers that are only doing ovals and some only doing Indy 500. So that's the next weekend. That's at Texas Motor Speedway. Just let you know, it's a double header, that one. 1st of May and the 2nd of May, that'll be the XPEL 375 at Texas Motor Speedway. So big weekend for IndyCar action. On an oval, the first two oval races of the season. So be great for that. We're going to move on now, Zach, back to COVID-19. And obviously in the UK, we're in step 3 of the roadmap now. Oh, step 2, sorry, of the roadmap. Freedom. And Zach, tomorrow, Scotland are going to see the first time that indoor hospitality can reopen. And I know a lot of people will be wanting to have a pint of beer indoors. What do you make of this move from Nicola Sturgeon?
Yes. Nicola Sturgeon is actually, this is interesting because Nicola Sturgeon has actually decided to actually bring forward some of the roadmap because some of the data is proven so good that she's actually decided to bring forward the roadmap. And indoor hospitality is going to be opening, as you said. Now, I hope nobody gets kicked. If you're a landlord, you don't want to be kicking out politicians this time, I have to say, Charlie, as well. But it's all crucial, Charlie, because it's not long now before the Scots are going to go to the poll on May the 6th. And this will obviously please a lot of people that the indoor hospitality is opening as well. But it's all going to be, we're all going to kind of forget about the opening soon anyway when the Scots go to the poll on October, May the 6th. There's obviously local elections coming here as well. Charlie, I received my postal ballots this week, and I'm going to vote this week, which I look forward to doing. But yes, on indoor hospitality is indeed going to be open out in Scotland, Charlie, which I'm sure a lot of lovely punters will enjoy as well.
Speaking of the pub, Zach, big week for Keir Starmer on Monday. Being confronted by a pub landlord. What do you make of that?
He handled it quite well. You do have some nutty landlords. This was definitely one of them who obviously decided to blame the Labour leader for the COVID lockdowns. Really, to be fair, you can't really blame Keir Starmer for COVID lockdowns when Boris Johnson's making half of these decisions. But the landlord did do quite a bit of try to do his best Peggy Mitchell impression, really inside the pub, and Keir Starmer handled it so professionally, just handing over his glasses whilst he's shouting and being basically being squashed by Keir Starmer's bodyguards. Some people commenting that the bodyguard actually looked like Keir Starmer for 1 second. I never actually seen Keir Starmer manhandle someone before. I don't think he would want to be manhandling something like that. But yeah, I think sometimes I would just wish the landlord wouldn't be so rude like that. I mean, you can have a disagreement in views, Charlie. We're on lockdown and all that sort of things, and we can disagree to agree on stuff like that. But just shouting and hollowing and he looked like an arse basically. Is not the way to go if you're a landlord. I wouldn't want to shout out my customers. I mean, even if Nigel Farage came over, to one of the pubs, I must disagree with him, but I'll serve him up. I wouldn't care, It doesn't bother me personally, but it just looks a bit stupid that landlords seem to get a bit of attention seeking and be invited onto radio shows afterwards to promote their COVID lockdown, anti-lockdown views, really, quite frankly, because you just get a load of COVID disinformation out of it. I'm sure pretty much anyway, Charlie, that this landlord will be inviting Desmond Swain and Mark Harper and Steve Baker to the likes of his pub anytime soon. They'll probably get VIP tickets probably if necessary. Or that's probably the type of landlord he would be. Yeah,
they'd probably get special VIP tickets for the pub. I don't know. That would be very, very interesting. And I felt like as well it wasn't reported enough in the media as well. I feel like the media were not reporting it a lot. I mean, this Twitter, and I was wow, Keir Starmer actually got confronted by a publand.
To be fair, I know I'm biased, Charlie, but to be fair, I know I'm biased, Charlie, but I'm on Team Keir on this one. I wish the landlord just be. I know people don't agree, with COVID lockdown views and all that stuff, but people take it so personally, and they end up taking out people they shouldn't take out. I don't think they should be taking out Keir Starmer out of all people, for goodness sake. I mean, shouting and hollering and acting like an idiot is not going to be the way to disagree with views. I mean, you can have a disagreement, but goodness to me, I think that this landlord went a bit too far.
Yeah, I think the landlord did go a bit too far. That was an interesting visit for Keir Starmer on last Monday, going to the pub.
Yeah.
I mean, Boris Johnson's had a couple of pints as well. Obviously, he's probably proud to get back. Outdoor hospitality, by the way, not indoors. But yeah, he went out to a pub as well and had his hair cut, thankfully. So the long overdue haircut for Boris Johnson
last week.
Complete. Yeah, it was actually. I saw him in Parliament the other week, and he certainly had a trim. So. Very, very interesting.
To be fair, Charlie, although he has a haircut, his uniform, like his shirt and like his shirt even looks like an absolute mess. It almost looked like he fluffed it onto his his blazer or anything, suit, we always mock Boris's hair half the time, but oh my god, like his suits and everything like that, you can see all the fluff that he probably dazzles and dozzles with. It looks even half messy on his thing, like he's just delivering hairy chests and everything like that, and he looks like an absolute mess, whatever way he does it. Even if it's cut, like he still makes him messing about himself.
It's going to be very interesting about that, I'm sure. We're going to move on now from that to America, and I think it was the other week, we had an interview, and the first on-camera interview with former President Donald Trump since he left the White House. I believe this was on Fox News with Sean Hannity. And Zach, he gave the biggest hint, potentially he could run again in 2024. What do you make with Trump's interview with Sean Hannity on Fox the other week?
Yes, Trump had an interview, basically had a propaganda interview with propaganda host Sean Hannity. I say that with I could offend a little bit more when I say that, but no, it's Donald Trump being Donald Trump again. I have to say, Sean Hannity is such a hypocrite, because Sean Hannity complains that the media is not focused enough and complain about Biden enough, yet he seems to absolutely treat Trump like a cat doodle, half the time. It's incredible the hypocrisy of some of these journalists. Really, who interview Trump, basically give him the most softest ride in the world, and basically complain that Joe Biden's cognitively senile and all that sort of thing. But yeah, the Trump interview was, it's obviously, I think it's just inevitable that Trump will run again. I think if he does run again, he'll crash and burn, really, quite frankly. But I'm more interested to see what the midterm looks like, actually, to be fair. He can tell he will campaign against Lisa Murkowski of Alaska. He's still going to give out a few endorsements as well. He's complaining about the usual crisis, like border crisis. Who, by the way, has calmed down a little bit now, actually, to be fair, Charlie. That was reported on for ages. And that's actually seemed to have calmed down because they've actually managed to find beds for the children, actually, and put them out in more spacing. So some good news on the border front there, actually. So I think Trump's whining can be toned down a little bit. I did not see the full interview. I saw parts of it. It's the usual loving between Sean Hannity and Trump. But it's Trump being Trump. Nothing new with him. It's almost like politics was the same a few years ago. You with him, you almost thought, it's weird.
Yeah, it is that. I understand about that. Obviously, you can watch the interview on YouTube, and that is Fox News, Trump's interview with Sean Hannity. And he did mention, Zach, as well, about the border crisis. I've been covering that a lot over the last couple of weeks. I understand Kamala Harris has been sort of having a dodging and ducking the media, but she's now, I think, had an interview with some journalists.
She had an interview, yeah. No, she had an interview with Dana Bash of CNN this morning, actually. It's not just, the thing about it, Charlie, is that you don't always have a press conference for every little scenario you get. We are actually going to hear from Joe Biden this week because he's actually addressing Congress on Wednesday or Thursday morning in the UK. We're going to hear a lot about, the state of America so far and his priorities. But Kamala Harris did have an interview this morning. He basically, her role basically is not just about the border; it's the implication of how people come into America, illegally, legally, illegally. 2 words I'm saying differently there, and the causes of it. Trying to sort out the root causes of migration, and basically trying to find a humane policy. So that's her role basically. It's going to take a little while to finish it all up, but you don't need press conferences. I mean, Fox News runs daily articles or whatever. Why should she not run a press conference? Well, let her actually get on with the job, because that's the sort of job. It's all good for people to come out saying, "Oh, we need press conferences. We need to hear from the people and stuff like that." But sometimes you just got to let people run the job. Not everyone has time for press conferences. Not ducking the media because she came out and interviewed Dana Bash, got interviewed by Dana Bash this week. But yeah, exactly. And so she is talking about her role, and she talked about obviously in the interview the Derek Chauvin trial, which, by the way, he was found guilty on all 3 counts on. A lot of celebration in America for that verdict. I completely agree.
I completely agree with that 100%. That was his fault.
Yeah.
That was the murder of George Floyd last year as well.
Yeah. The jury found Derek Chauvin guilty on all 3 charges. He's going to be sentenced in June, as well. So he's going to be sentenced in June. So we're going to have to wait a little while for the sentencing. But, we are at that stage now where Derek Chauvin is facing a long time in prison. So Kamala mentioned that. Obviously mentioned the priorities and how Kamala Harris is the last person consulted before decisions are made. So, yes, it was a very ranging interview with Kamala Harris. I think it's about 20 minutes of it was shown on CNN today. I watched all of it as well. That's the state of her interview.
It's going to be interesting how Joe Biden gets on as president. We'll let you know how he gets on as well. There is a climate change summit he was at the other day, apparently wearing a mask, doing the virtual interview as well, or the virtual link up with the world leaders. Very unique.
Yeah, 40 leaders there.
40
leaders.
I think Vladimir Putin was there. I'm not sure about Boris Johnson.
Boris was there. He was there. He was there. There's 40 of them there. and they all turned up, which was, I have to say, great to see them turn up. To be fair, Charlie, it was actually really good to see them turn up, and it's well needed to be turned up.
I'm sure Greta Thunberg would have been listening very closely to that as well, because obviously climate change is she's a big believer of climate change. Is Greta Thunberg?
She is.
And yeah, so we'll move on from that now to the final feature of this week's edition of the Globetrotter Newscast. I'm live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Charlie Tolhurst. I'm going to move on to the feature that I'm going to be talking about, and that is the 2021 mayoral elections. And Zach, the Mayor of London race is looking very interesting. I did watch a bit of between 4 candidates, including Sadiq Khan and Sean Bailey, who look like the 2 front runners. And what do you reckon is going to happen in this race? How is it looking so far in this race for the Mayor of London?
Yes, so I think Sadiq Khan will easily be re-elected, not because I'm saying this because of Labour bias or anything, Charlie, but I'm just looking at the opinion polls. It looks like it's going to be an easy re-election for Sadiq Khan. Sean Bailey has been widely condemned as a Tory candidate. He's been absolutely slaughtered from all sides of the Tory party internally. You won't hear this on the record, I don't think, but if you read what the Conservative sources are saying to newspapers, he gets absolutely hammered. He did a campaign advert the other week, Charlie, Sean Bailey, where he was driving a vehicle to show off the congestion charge whilst driving a vehicle that was actually exempt from the congestion charge, and put Brentwood as a feature of London for some reason, rather than Brentwood isn't in London. I don't know why he even put that on his campaign video. But yes, it looks like it's going to be an easy. Looking at it, it's going to be an easy re-election for Sadiq Khan. In Manchester, Andy Burnham's up for re-election. It looks like he'll probably be re-elected. Andy Burnham he'll be easily re-elected as well. By the looks of it, Manchester's very red. I expect the likes of Liverpool, Manchester, London to go red again. It'll be one thing I'm going to be very interested to watch out for, Charlie, is the Teesside Valley mayor election with Ben Hutchinson up for re-election, and the West Midlands race as well, and the I think it's also the West Yorkshire race as well, Charlie, which is up for mayor election for the first time, with Tracy Brading standing for Labour. I think originally it looked like suggested that it may well be possibly a Labour mayor being elected, but we don't know yet. We'll see. I'm not really sure. To be fair, there are 13, I believe, mayoral elections on there. I also believe there are assemblies as well, elections for the London Assembly. There's also, as I said, Charlie, elections for Wales to Scotland, as well, and the London Assembly. So this is a big set of elections, Charlie. Some of these elections were delayed from 2020. These are equivalent to I believe 2016, so this would be 5 years. So most of these have been postponed from 2020. Some have been rolled over. So yeah, there's thousands of council seats up for grabs. But as I said, on the mayoral elections, let me look at this. So there's elections up in Cambridge. There's elections up in Manchester and Liverpool City, West Yorkshire. That's a new mayor election there. That's brand new for 2021. The West of England up, Conservatives up for re-election there. Andy Street up for re-election. Tees Valley up for re-election. Watch out for those 2 ones, I think, Charlie. Tees Valley and West Midlands, because these are the ones that Labour are hoping to gain off the Tories. And so watch out for this one. Watch out for West Yorkshire, I believe, as well. There's also elections up in Bristol, Doncaster, Liverpool, North Tyneside, Salford, all up for re-election as well. Wow. They are Labour holds at the moment. I'm very interested to see what Doncaster is actually, Charlie, because Doncaster has been trending Tory all these years. In fact, although it has been, to be fair, it's been let's just say Ross Jones up for re-election. he has won in the first round 2017. I'll be interested to see what, like, depending on what I saw last time, Charlie, looking at the results from 2017, I think probably Ross Jones of Doncaster will probably be re-elected. That's my guess. But the ones I'm looking out for are Tees Valley and West Midlands, because that would be crucial to see whether Labour have actually gained in the north in these elections.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, Zach, as well. And with the Mayor of London, I've got some of the candidates up here as well. I believe it's Sadiq Khan of Labour, Sean Bailey of Conservative.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, Sean Berry from the Green Party, who actually stood for election as Prime Minister in 2019, she was also running in that as well. And also, I think there's a Liberal Democrats candidate as well. Forgot her name, but it's a woman that's running.
It's Louisa Porritt, I think. Louisa
Porritt, yeah.
Liberal. Interesting as well, Charlie. There's some others as well. You want to be want to know who's running as well. You got the Burning Pit. You got. Oh, did I lose you? Okay, I'm back. We got Renew Party. We got Khan Bailey, who's running for the New Party. We also got Count Binface as well, Charlie. He's who's a comedian. And we got Piers Corbyn, anti-lockdowner himself, Piers Corbyn, lockdown idiot. We also got Lawrence Fox. You may remember him as well, who's formed a pact with Richard Tice, actually, as well.
Yes, that's the Reform UK nominee.
Yep. Peter Gammons for UKIP, who has Gammons as his last name, which just got everyone in hystericals. You also got a YouTuber as well for making prank videos. Someone from the Heritage Party, and a former Brexit Party candidate, Munda Reid from the Women's Equality Party, and Brian Rose, who's also standing independent, and this week got caught drinking his own urine on camera. I'm not kidding when I say that. He's promoted misinformation to COVID. Standing independent, and also got, as I said, got caught this week drinking his own pee on camera. Quite frankly, so yeah, but it looks like, based on the poll, Charlie, that Sadiq Khan is the one favourite to be re-elected on this one.
Sadiq Khan of Labour could be re-elected Mayor of London. I mean, it's going to be interesting, Zach. May the 6th is when we start voting. The polling stations open, not just here in England, but also across Scotland, Wales. I think Northern Ireland. I'm not sure if they've got elections.
I don't think there's any major elections in Northern Ireland.
But there is a lot of
Scotland. Yeah, it's Scotland, Wales, England. There's a few mayor elections. There's thousands of council elections as well. There's also postal votes that have been sent out this week as well. I've got my postal vote this week. I'm going to be voting this week. I'm going to send my postal vote hopefully back this week as well, Charlie. So I know there's a few elections in my area, Charlie. Some by-elections. They were also going to vote in a policing fire commission as well. I see as well. I got a few leaflets through the door actually this weekend as well. So I will be voting this week. I'll be returning my postal vote as well this week. I look forward to voting for the second time in my life, Charlie. I first voted the 2019 election. This will be the second time I have voted in an election. So I look forward to doing it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, Zach, as well, voting for the local elections. I mean, in Scotland and Wales, I think their parliaments have paused or gone on recess for their elections. Who do you think will potentially be First Minister of Wales and of Scotland? Do you think they'll be re-elected, or do you think there could be a surprise in Scotland?
Well, it'll be interesting because let me see. In Scotland, it'd probably be an SNP that will be the largest party. Whether they get majority or not will be interesting to see. Now, also, Charlie, watch out for Labour. Let's see if they make any real gains. There's a poll out this morning that they could go back into second place ahead of the Conservatives. Anna Sarwar is certainly making an impression in Scotland, I think, with very favourable opinions already. But in Wales, it's going to be very interesting because this is going to be a difficult re-election for Mark Drakeford, actually. There's a rising Plaid Cymru votes from younger voters, actually, Charlie, who want Welsh independence. So there's a lot. There could potentially be a Plaid surge. That could affect how, and there's also a minor Tory increase as well. So that could really determine who's going to control the Welsh government in a few weeks' time. So it's going to be interesting. I think that Drakeford will probably be re-elected with the help from potentially the Liberal Democrats. But I think in Scotland it's a bit unknown. It'll probably be the SNP, the largest party. Will they get the majority? Will be interesting to see, Charlie. There's going to be certainly a lot on it for sure.
Zach, what do you think about? Obviously, this is a new party that's launched. How do you think they're going to cope if they're going to get any votes?
The Alba Party, yeah. Well, it doesn't look exactly favourable at the moment. They're standing on the list. They're putting list candidates up, which means they've only got a certain amount they can get. Now, if you look at Alex Salmond, he's not very popular in Scotland at all. People don't rate him very well at all. And in current opinion polling suggests Alba Party's in about 4%, which isn't even enough even to get a single seat in Scotland. So it could be that Alex Salmond is put up for election and may not even get a seat, which sums it up really. So this Alba Party could be very short-lived, I think, in my opinion. Getting away seeing how opinion polls at the moment. But all it matters, Charlie, is the poll on the 6th of May. And when the voting starts, then that will actually be the time where it will matter.
It will, Zach. It's a big week for politics, isn't it, over the next? I mean, I've seen people going out on the campaign trails, people going out campaigning and handing leaflets. I've seen Keir Starmer do that over the last couple of weeks. I think Boris Johnson and a couple of other Conservative MPs have been out as well. Do you think, Zach, that obviously this year's local elections is going to be a bit different because of COVID? Do you think people can still go out and vote? And do you think there'll still be a good turnout potentially with this?
I hope so. Normally turnout is lower in local elections anyway, Charlie. But, the COVID is going to be a bit different. I mean, a lot of people will postal vote like I am doing this year, Charlie. I'm doing postal voting this year. There will be those that want to do it in person safely. That's they will do that as well. So there will still be, I think, a turnout, Charlie. Don't underestimate how important these elections are, really, to be fair. Because it shows who's making progress and who's not. But there's still many ways to vote, Charlie. And, it's important because turnout is critical. And I hope people do turn out to vote, whether they're doing it via the post or in person. It's crucial that people make their voices heard on this.
It's crucial. People have got to get out there and give their opinions. Like we're going to see, I think potential rallies could be going on. I don't know, but like online rallies, stuff like that, trying to get people out there and voting. We saw that last year with the US election, I think, with Trump and Biden both going out and campaigning for their why they want to be elected as a president.
Yeah,
Biden ultimately won the election, but with this election, Zach, this election is this year's local elections the biggest for some years?
It is. And one thing to mention, Charlie, as well, is that there is going to be an MP by-election for the UK Parliament in Hartlepool as well. This is a very crucial election in Hartlepool as well, because this has been a traditionally Labour seat. Now, although the current Labour, Mike Hill, has stepped down, so there's going to be a by-election there with Paul Williams for Labour and someone else for Conservative stand. I can't remember her name. But this could be very interesting to see whether Labour are holding the Red Wall or losing even more of it, quite frankly. It'll be interesting to see where the votes go in this situation. Watch out for that. I think it's very interesting. So, yeah, look out for that, because that's crucial to see whether the Tories will increase their majority or not.
It's going to be interesting, Zach, as well, because all of these political parties are going into this election, or the local elections, with a chance of either gaining seats or losing seats, people getting re-elected, standing on another term, or being defeated and other people being elected. What political parties, Zach, do you think are under pressure to deliver during these local elections this year?
So Labour definitely are under pressure. They're playing a bit of expectation management on this one. We'll be interested to see how the Lib Dems do. I think the Conservatives may have a good night in terms of the mayor elections and some of the council elections. That's very much possible. One thing party to watch out for, I think, is the Greens as well, Charlie, who could make some sizable gains. The expectation is they make some sizable gains in this election as well. But nevertheless, Charlie, I think, the ones that are managing expectations are Labour at the moment, and potentially Lib Dems as well, who could be on for a tough elections after standard success in the 2019 local elections. It's gone a bit downhill for them on there onwards. So, the ones to watch out for, obviously the main parties, and see how they all feel by the end of this election.
What about just before I finish that? What do you reckon about the Reform Party?
I don't know how much. I don't know how.
How do you think they?
Yeah, I don't know how many seats they're standing in. I haven't seen much of that. I don't know. I don't know really, without Farage power, or which Tice doesn't really appeal to many people. So I think they'll probably struggle if they are standing some seats. I don't know really if they're really going to get any, to be fair, but I think they may struggle if they're standing in some areas.
It's a difficult one, Zach, isn't it? This is the biggest local elections for some time. People are going to have to go out there and vote.
Yeah, absolutely.
Local election, May the 6th, which I believe is, if I'm correct,
2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. Under 2 weeks, actually, to be fair, Charlie, from now. I think 6th of May, 25th, under 2 weeks to go.
Yeah, please get out there and vote. If you go to these polling stations, and political parties, all you have to do is, if you're going out and voting at the polling station, make sure that you cast your vote on the candidate you think want to vote for, and the candidate you think that will win that seat in that council area. And of course, the Mayor of London elections is the ones that we're going to keep an eye on very, very closely, and that is also on the 6th of May, and we'll announce the winner in due course on that one. But that's all we've got time for this evening here on the Globetrotter Newscast. I want to thank everyone for watching this podcast tonight on YouTube and Facebook. I've been live on YouTube and Facebook for this Globetrotter Newscast. Thank for everyone for watching. And most importantly, guys, stay safe out there and keep following the rules, washing your hands, covering your face, and making space. And making sure as well that you keep in fresh air as well, making the most of the year. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and take care. See you next time for the Globetrotter Newscast.